It is still the conversation, and we thank you for staying tuned. The midterm break is over and schools have resumed, so happy resumption. Schools play a foundational role in shaping the future of our children, and discipline remains a core aspect of nurturing responsible, well-rounded students. So our focus on the conversation today is school discipline. And joining the conversation is Comrade Akintoye Hassan. He is the chairman of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, Lagos State Chapter. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Schools discipline. Discipline, like I said, is very crucial, especially in the educational system. How has it been as an educator? You know, looking at how it used to be in your days while you were in school, where you had the corporal punishment, and looking at it now that we do not have that anymore. How has it been?
Like you have rightly pointed out, discipline is very critical, not only within the school environment, even in every sector of human life and society at large. Society runs on two things, or let me say two parameters, based on rules and regulation. And when you abide by the rule, then you have a kind of reward. It might be in terms of praise. And when you run foul of the rule or the law, then there is punishment already on ground for you to bear the consequence of your action. In those days, that aspect of punishment is somehow more of, prevalence compared to what we have now. Because the aspect of punishment has to do with corporal, form of punishment. And with this idea of child rights, and with this foreign influence, not minding to find out how did the white man get to that point where they feel that they just have to abolish corporal punishment. Look at the skin of that white man and that my skin. One is somehow tendrous, one is thick.
Hard.
So you can see that the effect of little, beating on a white man will show more compared to that of a black man. So if they find themselves at that stage, that at a point they have to take decision that this corporal punishment should be abolished, I think that is enough reason, because the pain will be more felt than on a black skin. However, irrespective of the color of the skin, we have come to realize that inflicting pain on younger one may not, I am choosing my word carefully, may not actually effect the necessary correction you intend to achieve. And that is the reason why we must understand that there is difference between discipline and punishment. Discipline has to do with a kind of preventive measure. How do you organize that system you find yourself in such a way that there are certain rules and regulations spelled out, and it should be made known to every component of that system. You should not claim ignorant of those rules, and the rules are not better, are not only spelled out, they are rather make as part of habit of all the components of that system. That has now become a way of life. Some of those rules, they are not really rules. they are about habits, that you must strive to be punctual. That's why there is time to every aspect of school activities. Time to arrive,
Time to
at
go
the
on
school
break.
for cleaning. So from there, you talk about punctuality. After punctuality, you talk about certain activities that has to be carried out, such as cleaning. You know, after that, you conduct assembly. At the assembly, many activities take place there, such as praying, you know, singing the anthem to enhance that sense of patriotism. You move from there, you talk about, you know, values, those aspects of, you know, domains that you may not necessarily teach in the classroom. That is where you have it early in the morning when their, you know, brain is still fresh. And all this aim at instilling discipline. And what is the overall importance of that? Is that you are preparing a total child. Total child in such a way that he will be useful to him or herself, to the family where he is coming from, and in the future to the society, the better society we are all looking forward at.
So the fact that the level of indiscipline in our schools is quite high is also part of the factors responsible for the moral decadence that we have in our society. Because like you have rightly said here now, if you're disciplined right from school, if you're punctual, it's going to reflect in your life at the end of the day. That is one. And secondly, punctuality. I remember when I was in secondary school, you must get to school at a particular time.
Yeah.
Even though I lived within the school. If you fail to get to school at that particular time, you will be caned, or you'll be asked to go and cut the grass.
Yeah.
But these days, we see our students roaming around the streets, they dress anyhow, and the teachers are not even confident enough to discipline them. If they do, their parents will come.
That is the conflict of interest and the situation we find ourselves now. In those days, teachers were absolutely in charge.
Absolutely. in
Even
charge.
where the hair, in terms of the magnitude of the impact of the punishment, the parent were still of the opinion that teachers can never wrong. So, but these days, we have conflict of interest. The society, when I'm referring to society, I am being synonymous referring to society as government. We seem not to be sincere about the policies and program that we introduce into our system. We don't know that every decision that has to do with every society is local. There is no way you can bring in foreign idea and adapt it absolutely into your system. There is need to create a balance because you have specific interest, specific value, specific traits about the component of your system that will make it extremely impossible for you to adapt an idea absolutely. And that is where we are getting it from. So we now have conflict of interest. The students tend to abuse the privilege. Teachers no longer have that influence over them. So the value of the teacher in the society has eroded over time just because the value system has changed. That successful man is no longer that teacher in the classroom. It is that boy who probably left school some years back and have become millionaire suddenly, and everybody is hero worshiping him in the church, in the society, at large, then that person has become the model to that younger generation. So the parent come, maybe if, do we say for the love of the children, that when you feel that teacher has gone out of band in terms of inflicting pain through punishment, then you come openly to assault that teacher. What signal are we setting?
Two wrongs don't make it right.
So we have had it so bad, but for those of us in the system, we try to adjust and doing our best within the confine of rule and regulation. At the same time, without overlooking that role God has placed on us, that we are there to shape that life of a young child, irrespective of how unfair the society is to us. We are still doing our best. We have adopted some other measures, persuasion, living by example, you know, repetition of what we believe is a fact, that over time it will sink into their memory. And even if they don't live by it now, by the time they grow older and of the reasoning that what you used to repeat to them is of value, they have a change of mind, and that may be beneficial. And that is when you see some people later in life, that teacher that they seem to be their enemy at that time now become a hero of their life later on in life.
You've mentioned the alternative disciplinary methods that you now use. But again, as an educator, you would have students who are just bent on, if I may use the word, frustrating the efforts of teachers. So it will be that, oh, if I had a cane, maybe it would have helped to instill a little bit of fear in that child. But now we are not allowed to, use canes again within the 4 walls of the school. So how do you handle a case where a student has character issues?
Well, there is no job that is free of, challenges. You have just identified one of the challenges faced by a teacher, that when you feel helpless, that what else can I do? But there's always a way out. Like myself, when I find myself before such a very difficult student, I tend to create a picture of what is likely to be the consequence of his action later in the future. That when you defy the situation whereby you can't be controlled now, you suffer for that freedom later. And we bring at fore the example of those who have passed through that stage before. We don't need to speak so much before you cite area boys as an example, who run after someone that is younger than them just because they have failed to be controlled by someone yesteryears, and they have turned to be a slave to themselves. So which one do you want to choose? That those who says you should not be caned, you should not be punished, probably they have a way of creating advantage for their children over you. That it is better you use the opportunity that you have now, listening to what we are saying, so that you can match up with that children of those who believe that they were protecting you, but actually protecting you, but you are abusing the privilege they have created for you. So I think there is need to talk to them and keep on repeating this message. Over time, it will sink, and it will make that impact you intend to achieve. So it is not that when we say we should remove corporal punishment, that it is of no significance. It is of significance because sometimes we are human beings. That offense committed by that young boy or girl might create a kind of emotion to that teacher that will make him to react unreasonably. But there is still a way to it. There is what we call supervised punishment process, whereby you are not the one that is going to actually, punish that child. You transfer to the higher authority who will designate someone else to actually punish. And that one is free of the emotion because it's not the actual person that was involved in the situation that created that scenario. So it's likely to pain without, to punish without much emotion. Then it used to be, senior teachers who will combine the method of stick and carrot, just to ensure that whichever way you go about it, that our aim of having a better student for a better society is still achieved. Okay,
but aside from corporal punishment, now in those days, I remember we used to have some teachers who would tell us then to go and kneel down or face the wall. Do we still have such? And how much of damage is technology causing when it comes to school discipline? Because we see some students go to school with their phones, and when they ought to be paying attention to their teachers, they are fiddling with their phones.
It is prohibited to bring all these electronic gadgets into school environment.
To sneak it in?
Yeah, it is prohibited. You can use it at home. If there is need to use any electronic gadget in the course of teaching and learning, then that will be the one provided by the school authority to enhance learning. We have computer system in our schools, so there is no need. You can, make up for additional learning when you get home with these your personal phones. But nonetheless, some of them still, bring them to school, and sometimes we seize it from them, give it to them after the school hours. And funnily, they feel so much offended when you do this. There was a case that happened in one of my schools in Badagry, where one of our teachers seized the phone from the student and just to be returned later after the school hour. And the parent mobilized hoodlum to go and visit that teacher at home, beat hell out of him. I think I've taken up the case along with the Ministry of Education, and it's in court. So, because no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So at our own head, as leaders of teachers, we will not tolerate any unnecessary abuse of our member. But the fact is that we can, ensure that we bring ourselves to the level of the age of these students. When I say the age, not their chronological age. We are in the technology
age.
So, and for anybody to survive now, you must leverage on technology.
Yeah, you have to be
so
tech-savvy.
We shouldn't be shy away from that. Gone are the days when you need to memorize 2 times 1, 2. Do you need to bother yourself about that? And that's why many are scared of mathematics, Instead of talk more about the application of knowledge as it is now, we tend to focus more on that knowledge there. What is chemistry? What is biology? No, it's no longer more about what is. How is that knowledge of biology going to be, employed in solving the societal problem? Because any knowledge you acquire that cannot, address your challenges is not useful. The essence of this knowledge we are acquiring is for it to be able to solve some of our challenges. And that's the difference between the developed world and the underdeveloped, because they take their challenges to the academy, and they work on the solution and take the solution back to the society. So they still retain that value for the education there, and that is the reason why they put so much into the funding of education, because it's a panacea to all the challenges any society intend to solve. And that's the reality. So we cannot move away or rebuke them of the use of these technological gadgets. But the fact is that we educate them on when to use it, how to use it, when has to do with the time when it will not cause distraction to them. Then how they can use it, because they have limitless, source of information. Those that are beneficial, introduce to them how to use their discretion, because no one can stop them from, going as far as they desire.
Exploring.
So the best thing is to, keep on educating them. And that's why we say, if you believe education is expensive, try ignorance.
All right. So I want to look at this now. So research suggests that physical punishment can have long-lasting effect on the emotional well-being of a student. And I'll use myself as an example. So while I was in secondary school, my maths teacher then, for the fear of the cane, I would always pay attention. By paying attention, I was not listening to what he was saying.
Exactly.
But I was just, because I told my friends, this is the trick. Once you
Just for
follow
him to
him with
see
your eyes, he will not ask you questions.
questions.
Because he will pieces the cane on your body. And so that made me afraid, and I could not understand what he was teaching, even though I was paying attention. So now that we do not have that anymore, how has it impacted on the performance of students? Do you have students now concentrating and understanding what they are being taught because the fear of the cane is no longer there?
Your experience or perception does not have absolute correlation on learning or retainers of the knowledge. As you have that perception that when you play along, you will not be touched. Some force themselves not only to play along, but for the fear of that teacher, ensure that by fire, by force, they understand those topics or that subject. So what about that? Will you say that method has not worked? So it depends. But no doubt that, especially the subject you have referred to, many of those teachers who used to handle that subject have failed to realize, and I keep on repeating every time to those who care, especially those who are teaching that subject, of what relevance is mathematics as such. When you see any advert of recruitment, apart from teaching, do you see any organization saying that I'm looking for specialists in mathematics? And here is the subject that we have glamorized at the secondary school level to the extent that when you don't pass both English and Maths, you cannot promote to SS3. And the student want to pass at all costs. You can see the level of our reasoning. Somebody who want to become a lawyer or a broadcaster, apart from being numeric a little bit, do you need to know algebra before you perform your function as a broadcaster effectively? That you must pass mathematics at all costs before you gain promotion, even when you have 6 credits? You see, these are some of the things that we are getting wrong.
So it means our curriculum is wrong.
So we'll keep on talking about it. But the fact is that mathematics aim to prepare you for something
Like what?
that ought to be communicated right from the beginning of the introduction of that subject. It is about the critical thinking,
Yeah.
because when you want to solve a mathematical problem, you need to think. Then you must be conscious of the fact that you take care of one step and move on to the next. And that's why a mathematics teacher is not expected to, mark the final answer.
Yes, look at the workings.
So the lesson from it is that life is about challenges. Then you need to think critically to resolve the challenges, and they are in stages. So their message that you can apply in the course of your daily activities, not necessarily
In the
the
classroom.
algebra that somebody say you must know by fire,
By
by
force.
fire. So these are the things lacking. So most of the teachers teaching mathematics, they are frustrated when you realize that, I've put so much effort to explain. At the end of
they are
the
not
class,
getting it.
only one or two can still solve it. From that point, we ought to realize that the methodology is wrong.
Okay.
The message is not actually comprehended. So this day, with as much as we pamper, without using that cane that you were talking about, as performance improves so much that we can now say that it's a positive correlation between the abolishment of force or cane. No. If we have improvement, maybe because they feel that without this subject, I can move on. I can't move on, so I have to learn to make up to 50 just to find your way. But the fact is that we are still getting it wrong. That is the reason why we are not witnessing the desirable development our society deserves, because we have failed to emphasize on the application of knowledge. We have failed. We tend to lay much emphasis on that acquisition of knowledge, especially with a view to acquire certificate.
And that's just it. That's why we're not developing. Okay, I had a similar experience like that of Joy. Till tomorrow, I'm still not interested in mathematics. 2 plus 2, I don't know, and I'm not interested. From day one, I knew I wanted to study law or mass communication, but mathematics for me was strange, and I was not interested. So, still talking about this lack of discipline in our schools, how do we begin to address it? In my days, we had a subject called moral education, where you're talking about culture, discipline, punctuality, and everything. Do we still have such? And what role should government play, as well as teachers, and of course the parents at home?
I wouldn't want to subscribe to the fact that there is a lack of discipline in school. There is still discipline. There's still discipline in school. All those things obtainable in those days, they are still there.
When you complete your punish?
The fact is that, yes, but not the kind of punishment that we are talking about. You come around, you are made to pick up the dirty things around within few minutes and join your colleagues. Unlike in those days, that just because you came late to school, you might be asked to go and uproot a tree, and you stay there for weeks, denying you of that time that you're supposed to be in the classroom. And nobody cares that you are on punishment. Then even after serving the punishment, they want to see you that you have copied all the missed notes. You see, everything we do has to come with passion. It has to come with passion. And that is the essence of the removal of this corporal punishment. They are still discipline in the school. But the fact is that both parents and teachers, we need to be on the same page. It is not when your child gets back home from the school and you know there is always room to tell stories about what happened in the school. Then, as a very smart parent, you must know when your child wants to create room for indulgence. So I don't think a parent should be seeing him or herself to be there for such a child at that particular point in time. Because if you create that room for him, it will thrive. And that influence of teachers over time will be eroded. Do you realize that if your child seriously believes in a particular teacher, when you tell him anything contrary to what that teacher told him, he will tell you that, no, you are wrong.
Yes, my teacher
even when
said,
you are right.
Yeah.
That my teacher, you see, we must create that room for firm belief in teacher and ensure that we work together so that we be in synergy in ensuring that when the right hand scored, the left hand will not spare. So, and over time, we will get there. We are not lacking in disciplinary measures in school, but the fact is that there is need for all stakeholders to work together. Like the theme for the World Teachers Day this year was there is need for teachers' voice to be heard. I think the implication of that theme is that they are the practitioners. When there is need to formulate any policy or any program as far as education is concerned, why can't you involve the practitioners? Because they are more closer to the reality than the theory that the policy formulator in the office tend to rely upon. So that we'll be on the same page. So we don't walk across the board. That is what we need. We still have discipline. We still have discipline. Discipline is not lacking.
Okay. What subject do you teach, sir?
In fact, I'm
I hope it's not mathematics.
teacher of Greek science.
Okay.
I teach vocation.
Okay.
I think I have taught farm building
Okay.
and farm structure this morning before I left the school.
Okay. 'Cause you sound like cool
Like a
teacher, like a cool teacher. Like no, he doesn't sound like a math teacher. He's cool. I mean, I would like to be under your tutelage. You know.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
So, how important is teacher and students communication?
I think we have learned over time that there is need to bridge that gap because that's the essence of this disconnect, because the communication gap was wide in those days, and we are trying to bridge the gap these days. And I think with the removal of this corporal punishment, that is also, improving on the situation. There is something we call psychology safety. When somebody feels that when he's around you, he or she can express him or herself freely, even where is wrong, is not likely to be taken. You can observe that specific traits endowed in each of them. And as a teacher, you become richer. But when you allow that communication gap to be wider, even as a teacher, you are losing. You don't teach them alone, we are also learning from them. Some of the things you feel they don't know, you'll be surprised. If they are free around you, they will make you to know so many things, and you'll be marveled. So this day we try to encourage our colleagues by improving on their communication skill, especially this psychological safety. Ensuring that every student feel free around you.
Yeah.
So that is when they can, make their challenge known.
All right.
With a view to solve it for them.
All right, Comrade Akintoye, is a teacher's reward still in heaven?
There is no way it will not be in heaven.
Okay.
As a Muslim, we have a special prayer.
Okay.
They will say, Rabbana, they seek for the good on this earth and also seek for the good in the hereafter. And I think even in Christendom, you say you don't want to inherit all the good of this life and lose the salvation.
Oh, yes.
So how can teacher be an exception? The good will come on this earth. That is why we will always enjoin other workforce to continue to agitate for a better welfare for teachers in terms of regular payment of salary, promotion, and some other things that will better the life of teachers. And that does not mean that while asking for those good things, and why we feel that it just have to be, recognized and attended to by the employer of labor, we are still of the opinion that we must not lose this art. Gain this reward of this art and lose that of heaven.
Okay, Comrade, a very quick one before you go. Are you bothered that some of our youth are not interested in this profession?
There's no way they can be interested. We have, enumerated different reasons why they cannot. If not recently, that we have the like of Nigerian Brewery, through one of their product, Mortina, they now celebrate teachers. With Mortina Teachers Award. How many of such celebration of teachers do we have? Then what is even the benefit compared to the Big Brother Niger benefit? How many are signed the Mortina Teachers Award winner as ambassador of their various products and brands? You see, it's about the value. And society gets the kind of, leadership they produce. And who produce the leadership for them? The teacher. So when your best did not go into the system, if I can't make pharmacy, if I can't make medicine, then come and study education. And that's why President Muhammadu Buhari signed into law before he left that bill to turn around the education system. Part of that bill is the elongation of the service year of teachers. A situation whereby those old wine who are passionate about the job, who are contented with the little they are earning there, to be retained for extra 5 years so that they can mentor these few younger ones who, because of the situation that, there is no job, let me join them. But over time, if somebody is there to mentor them, then maybe their perception about the job will change. That bill has not been adapted by some of the states, including our own state. And I'm using the opportunity of this moment again to appeal to Mr. Governor. It is a law. It's an act of parliament. We only need to adapt it in our state. It is beneficial. Teachers of Lagos State want it. Do it for them. So that at least people can be envious of becoming a teacher. That When it is something that has to do with the issue of teacher, why does it always drag? And you said you want
we
people
hope so. Because of
to
our
come
time,
and
we have to
join
go
the-
now.
Yeah,
Joy.
this is one conversation that we cannot exhaust in a day. Thank you so much, Comrade Akintoye Hassan, the Nigerian Union of Teachers, Lagos State Chapter Chairman. Thank you so much for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, the conversation continues after this. Stay with us.